Hello. What's going on,
Hello.
everybody? Welcome to the Seven Mountains Influencer Show. We are excited. This is episode number 1. So we're so glad that you could come and join us. I and my wife are your hosts. I am Peter Kiiskila. This is my wife.
I'm Vibeke.
And we are so glad that you've joined us today. So, honey, why don't you tell us why you're so passionate about the Seven Mountains?
Yes, I will. So I want to just share a little bit about my backstory. So I was born in Korea and I was adopted to Norway when I was 3 months old. And I grew up in an amazing family. They were not Christian. And at the age of 26 years old, I became a Christian and I had a radical encounter with Jesus Christ, which definitely changed my life forever up till today. And then I saw a lot of great things inside the church. I started to just go to a lot of meetings. I went to worship gatherings, and it was just amazing. But I also found a lot of just lack of character and a lack of integrity inside the church, which really broke my heart and hurted me a lot. So I started to look for just different messages and things like that. And one day I just came over the 7 Mountain of Influencer message. And from that day, I just started to dig really deep in what this was. And from that moment, I just like, wow, this is amazing. I love everything that they're sharing. And from that moment, I was like dedicated. I want to be a part of sharing this message. I want to be part of inspire people to be leaders on all the different 7 mountains of influencer. And I know there's a lot of you maybe never heard it or you don't know what it is. So can you tell a little bit what the 7 Mountain is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 7 Mountains of Influence, this is actually a message that's been around for some years. In fact, what's really neat is that I can't share it now, but we're going to have a really amazing episode with one of the people that kind of got inspired with this whole thing about the 7 Mountains. But basically what the 7 Mountains is, it's a worldview of all of society, and it's bringing it into 7 different mountains or spheres of society. So with that, you're talking about religion, or we'd say here in the Christendom, the church, family, education, government, arts and entertainment, media, and then business. So 7 different spheres. And each one is just encompasses the whole of society. So for me personally, I saw that the church was kind of stuck on just the church mountain, right?
Well, you grew up Christian, right?
Yeah. So I grew up in the church, and that was kind of my whole upbringing. And what I heard just even as a boy is just everything is about trying to get people out of the world, save souls, which is wonderful, but then bring them into this place within the 4 walls of the church. And we kind of have our holy huddle, and we'll just, all lock arms and just be together. And, I'm from Wisconsin. We had a funny thing called the Frozen Chosen. You're from Norway too. I think we could probably relate in that way, the Frozen Chosen, but kind of locked in, and that's all it is. That's the end game, is just within the church. When in fact, Jesus calls us as believers. He says that you are the light of the world, and that you should be the salt and light and go and make impact. So that was really insightful for me. And actually a little bit more what I was passionate, why it came to be a passion of mine, because I've heard the message for some years, probably the past decade. In fact, I've known about the 7 Mountains of Influence. Yeah, it's this, that, and the other. But one thing that finally really hit home to me is when, in fact, we were in Israel. It was the second time. The first time I proposed to you, and she said yes, everybody. and then the second time we went to this conference as a prayer thing, and there was some teaching there. But we had this training with Lance Wallnow, and he's in fact a prolific teacher on this subject matter of the 7 Mountains of Influence and the church's responsibility to be influential in every sphere of society. And that there was something how he shared it and the timing and everything in my life that I feel like I was like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be called to do and help to share this message and to be an influencer within the realm of business and also other places. But it was something that really impacted my heart. And at that point, I knew like I've got to do something with this message. So here we are.
There's a few things that I'm actually very passionate about since I became a Christian, and that is that I wanted to see the church be united, to see all the different generation like stand together and just inspire one another and cheer on one another. And also that all the different churches should stand more together and work together. So unity was one. And then a second thing was leadership. I wanted Christian to just live a holistic life in spirit, soul, and body, and just develop good character, to have integrity, to learn people skills, communication skills, learning how to love and see other people. So that's a few things that I'm very passionate about. There's a lot of other things, but I just know that I want to dedicate my life to inspire people to be everything that they are called to be, with their spiritual gifting, but also in their mindset of how they live out their life. And like kind of just, where are you called to be? Are you called to be a stay-at-home mom? Are you called to be on the church mountain, or business, or politics? And just inspire them to go to that spheres of influence and be a person that represent Jesus Christ as the light, but also have a lot of wisdom, love, compassion in the spheres that you are called to. That's just a few of things I'm passionate about. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree with you just about being an influencer, to have that place of knowing that you're called to stand on the mountain, to stand there. And I think that's one of the big things, is that so for so long people have thought that you separate life, right? You've got your church life, your Christian life with your Christian friends. You go to your Sunday morning service. However, 2020 has kind of thrown a wrench into that whole mindset already. So it's very different already, but there's been a lot of thinking that way of like, oh, here's my Christian life, and then, oh, this is my job life, or this is my business life. And it can be completely different almost on how your mindset is and what you take into it. But just recognizing that we're spiritual people, that we are body, soul, spirit, we are three in one, and that wherever we are, there we go. So Christ in us, the hope of glory, carrying that wherever we are. So if it's to our job, if it's, to McDonald's, if it's to being a CEO of a company, or if you're, you've got a landscaping, you're managing over guys out in the field, but having the presence of Jesus and being a carrier of his presence into those places, and seeing the manifestation of God's love impact people where you are, and doing it with excellence, like Joseph. One thing I think of, I love Joseph's story, and I think he's kind of he's seen as one of the heralded kings of this message of being a ruler that God raised up for such a time as this. And it said that he had an excellent spirit, and it's everything that he did, it prospered. And when he was in the house of Potiphar, the hand of the Lord was on him. And even Potiphar, who was, an unbeliever completely, he did not know anything about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, yet he saw there was something about this man that was different, that was completely other than, and it was God's hand upon him, the favor of God. And that's something I'm so passionate about, is that we're allowing God's presence and that his spirit to actually shine, and to not cut corners, but to be people of excellence in everything that we do, and that people would see it and know that there's something different.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it doesn't necessarily mean like you have to be a leader, you have to be the one that are on the top, or the one that rule and reign. That's not what we mean at all. What we do mean that wherever you feel called to your spheres, that to be in that sphere and to do that with excellency and integrity and character, and just overflow of God's presence and his light, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's both and, definitely.
Yeah. So that's kind of a little bit about us. And we want to just interview a lot of people from all the different spheres, all the 7 mountains. And we want to hear their heart and their story. And our main desire is to inspire you that are listening to this to become everything that you are called to be, to inspire you to just found and co-reign with God and find boldness and courage to fully walk out in your calling and in your spheres and be an influencer and be a person that impacts with the light of God. And that's kind of our main purpose, right?
Yes, just in harmony with my wife and what she was saying, that we are wanting to inspire you with this podcast, that you would feel the boldness and the power of the Spirit within you to go wherever that is and to make impact and influence those around you that are either believers or non-believers, that you're carrying that integrity and walking in the godly character that people see that, wow, that there's a good Father that loves them and that we're called to make a difference.